All praises unto the Most High. For giving thanks unto thee, Father, for thou art merciful and kind to thy people. We give thanks, Father, for all thy blessings and all thy mercies. So, Israel, we're here again. And today, oh my gosh, today I have a lesson uh, that we're going into. And today is going to be, hopefully edifying to where you can understand everything that is bring forth. And within these teachings, you yourself can, as I always state, go and do your own personal research, right? So with that, I'm going to go straight in Israel. I'm not going to even waste no time because I do have an extensive amount of information to give you. But before I do so, let me explain exactly what the lesson is about, right? So, all praises unto the Most High for, giving me this opportunity to have health and strength, and I have the knowledge and the wisdom which He sent by the Holy Spirit to bring forth this information, right? All right. So we're here to talk about Israel. You know, I call it basically humans with AI. No, AI means artificial intelligence, right? And to merge really, so let me even state it better. Let's say merging humans with AI, right? And artificial intelligence, Israel, is as what you would say, let's put it in a simple term, right? That it would be having a smartphone connected to your body, right? And a specific part of the body, which would be the brain, right? And by doing so, you and this computer will become one. Now, Israel, I mean, stemming from the last, I would say, lesson that I did in terms of demonic infiltration, you could say in some ways this gives you a more greater insight in terms of, the plan of the wicked. No, Israel, this is real, right? So I have a video here to show you. Well, I have, to be honest, a few videos I want to share with you. So I'm going to try to go through them real quick and fast just to hit the nail on the head. And, you know, we're going to go into the scriptures and, you know, hopefully you, as I said, will be edified by the information that is bring forth, right? So Israel, with no further ado, I'm going to get into it. So one of the main person that is pushing this type of collaboration is a man called Elon Musk. Now, with Elon Musk, it is kind of crazy to me because he's saying that, you know, by having what you call now, mechanics in terms of having, machines doing man's work, we're probably doing something that we're not supposed to because it can reach to a point where that can be the demise of man. So he's talking about a Terminator 2 type thing, right? And yet, in the other hand, he's saying that we still should, you know, poke something in our brain to have a greater, um, usage of of computers so we can be better in many ways. Now, he's saying his purpose is to do it for health reasons, right? But we know normally that when they tell you something, it goes the opposite, right? So with no further ado, let's get into it, Israel. Let's get into it.
For just $67, you can make as many videos as you want, and you never need to pick up a camera or use any...
Sorry, Israel, let me skip that, right? Because I don't know where am I going. All right, Israel, hold up. Let me go back again. I will see what the enemy I try already. See what the enemy is trying. All right. So let's back up.
Between running the show at Tesla and sending his SpaceX rockets into outer space, it's surprising that Elon Musk still has time for his many ambitious side hustles. His latest bit on the side, Neuralink, has flown under the radar for the past few years, but it's now captivating the world's attention for a reason that's as intriguing as it is scary. Musk suggests that Neuralink will facilitate his mission to merge humans with artificial intelligence and subsequently save the human race from AI. Most of Musk's businesses run off the backbone of forward-thinking technology, but one piece of tech that Musk openly fears is AI. He firmly believes that artificial intelligence is the biggest threat to the human race, and that advancements in its technology is a dangerous game for us all to be playing. It sounds a little far-fetched to think that AI could literally wipe out life as we know it, but Musk isn't alone in his worries. In its current narrow form, AI can already outperform humans at literally any mental task, from solving equations to playing chess. But if we were to unleash its full potential and develop AI into a wide form of intelligence, it could and would outperform humans in every way imaginable, especially if we partner it up with robotics. Musk sees only one way of escaping the impending doom of an AI-facilitated human extinction, and that is to somehow merge our own intelligence with machine intelligence. Without realizing, we are all already somewhat merged with machine intelligence by merely owning a smartphone and having access to the internet. With the World Wide Web at our fingertips, we are countless times smarter than without. The only limitation that we have is speed. Searching for information using the internet is slow in the way that we have to find, read, and process before we can relay any information back out. All of this takes time. The goal of Neuralink is to make this connection between man and machine seamless. And the best way to do that is to physically merge the two together using a microchip brain implant. So what exactly is this first-gen brain implant? Dubbed the N1, the very first Neuralink implant is a tiny 4x4mm square chip that will be directly implanted into the brain. Attached to the chip are tiny wires that are 10 times thinner than a human hair, which coincidentally is about the same thickness as a neuron. The threads are embedded into essential parts of the brain, where they can decipher messages that are transmitted between neurons. The threads then relay that information back to the chip, where it records the impulses, evaluates the data, and then stimulates its own responses. The chip and wires not only read the information that the brain communicates, but also inputs information back into the brain as well. A single Neuralink chip will be able to connect and communicate with 1,000 different brain cells, and an individual will be able to house as many as 10 implants, totaling 10,000 connections. Testing so far of the N1 chip has been limited, but a restricted version with just 256 electrodes did see human patients controlling computer cursors, speech synthesizers, and robotic limbs with nothing but the power of their mind. Currently, the best FDA-approved brain implant has just 10 connections. So with this in mind, it's clear that the potential of Neuralink's chip is pretty much unrivaled. You'd think that the installation of such a device would be really complicated, dangerous, and invasive. But Musk has been very clear that the installation of Neuralink chips will be as straightforward as laser eye surgery. In the early stages, the installation of the chip will be done by the hand of a brain surgeon, but eventually, the entire procedure will be machine-operated. Neuralink are putting as much effort into the design and development of their robotic surgical device as the chips and wires themselves. Musk says that it will be able to undertake the procedure more intelligently and accurately than any human could, so it's the obvious route to go down. For the time being, the scope for Neuralink's technology will be to help those with physical and mental disabilities, used to help paraplegics with movement, amputees control artificial limbs, and those with memory loss reform connections. As the Neuralink N1 chip develops and gets smarter though, the possibilities get far more interesting. I'm sure Mr. Musk is over the moon that his tech can and most likely will help those with disabilities. But I think it's the more out there possibilities of merging humans with AI that really gets his juices flowing. In the distant, or maybe not so distant future, Musk sees Neuralink's AI chips being installed along the same lines as plastic surgery, as in it will be an optional surgery that some people get done, but it won't be absolutely mandatory. Although he also says that if everybody around you has the brain power of a quantum computer, then you will probably be tempted to get the procedure done yourself, especially if you plan on competing for jobs and keeping up with conversations. The possibilities of Neuralink's AI implants are endless, and that's not a figure of speech. AI's knowledge literally has no endpoint, because it's forever learning, working things out, and becoming better, all at a rate that we can't even comprehend. To paint a picture for you, with the help of Neuralink, you'll be able to do everything that your computer or smartphone can, but directly through thought. If you need to answer a question, your brain will just know it, because it has untapped access to the internet, just like how you currently have untapped access to your own knowledge. With Neuralink, you'll automatically know everything that you'd usually need to ask without even having to pop the question. Date, time, weather, geographical location, Brad Pitt's height in inches, anything. But Neuralink is not all about information. It's also about interaction and communication. Because the embedded AI can wirelessly transmit electrode signals, users will essentially be able to communicate with other computers and chip-wearing people with mind power alone. This communication will be almost instant, as it would have zero of the physical restraints that we currently have attached to speaking and typing. Think of it like pinging a thought into somebody else's Dropbox, but faster. Neuralink essentially turns you into a living, breathing Alexa that can control pretty much anything with an internet connection. Video games, drones, cars, all powered through thought. Musk's mission to merge humans with AI is a pretty crazy concept to wrap your head around, but the speed and direction that Neuralink is moving makes it one with genuine possibility. In the immediate future, the technology will most likely benefit the lives of countless people, but who knows how intelligent these chips will really get. I find it strange that Musk is fearful of a computer-based AI, but sees no problem with a human-based system. I can see hacking, bugs, and weaponization being a genuine issue of having a population of cyborgs. But hopefully, with the help of AI, we will be smart enough to figure all that out at a later date. The first human testing of the full-spec N1 Neuralink chip is planned for the end of 2020, so it might not be long until we see this technology really taking shape.
So there we go. It is real.
I want to show you the perfect tool for making stunning videos without leaving the house. Just go to artgrid.io. It's a
so much to wrap your head around.
But not many people have time for that.
Like,
I understand.
Almost not real, really, right? But it is, and this is what, obviously these people have planned. And these things, they're not doing it of their own will, like, oh yes, let's, merge, AI and humans, because it really comes down to where even what the scriptures is talking about, right? Right? These things will be like as what it states in Revelation 13 about, right, a man having a mark, right? And it's going to be in his forehead, right? And these things, what the enemy has planned, which, we know, is that because the Most High has the power to have that link with the Holy Spirit in terms of every living being on this place of this planet, right? The Most High can even think of anything that you do. The Most High knows, so you can't hide from the Most High, right? So even in your thoughts, which is your private thoughts, even if you're not even speaking, the Most High can know. No, this is something what the devil is trying to do, because he wants to tap into the Most High's, family, his tree, right? So he wants to have that knowledge now to where, because if you listen earlier what they were saying, right? They were saying that, they have the power. Well, you would have the power, I should say, in terms of if you had that chip in your head to basically to connect with anything at any time. You could, eventually, if anybody has the same connection. You could, connect to them just like without even, physically talking. You could, you know, it's like I'm basically having a phone and I can just call you and say, hey, what's up? James will say, hey, what's up? And, you know, I'm not really physically using a mobile phone, right? So these things are some deep, deep, I mean, it doesn't even start at Israel. I'm just even barely scraping the surface. So let's get into this now, Israel. So this is one of the ideas that they're looking to bring forth in the way that Elon Musk is talking about. So let's give you, because they give you information in series, right in front of you. They tell you what they want to do, and it's coming to pass right now, right? No, this is basically another illustration to give you very deeply, to the end of what they want to do. So this is a series which was called what, Years and Years, and basically, fair use. I'm just making that known, fair use. So, this is a plan of the devil, to have that control of every living person. And this is one of the reasons why they are coming out with these so-called, you know, vaccine, so they can use, that as a starting point to get to where they want to get. I'm telling you, Israel, look at it. The information and everything is right in front of us. So let's get into it again, Israel. Now, check this out, Israel. This is deep.
You're okay? You okay?
I am. I really am. I'm fine. Honestly, I swear I'm fine.
There. You can let that breathe for 10 minutes. All looking good. I'll come back and I'll dress them.
Do you see? These are interaction nodes. If I use this finger, I can open all the doors at work, no ID. And if I just scan this in the shop, I can pay for anything up to £1,000. And look, Dad, Mom, I've just taken your photo. Send and send. It doesn't need the sound effect. I just added that because it makes me laugh.
You promised me they wouldn't touch your eyes. Not after last time.
That was years ago. Gran's had stem cells in her eyes since then.
Yeah, I can't help thinking... Don't laugh. All these power cuts. Well, what would happen to you?
Nothing. What happens to you in a power cut? Nothing.
So, what about your head?
Can't feel a thing. They inserted the tiniest wafer into my brain. Oh my God, look at the result. Synced us up. No keyboard. I don't need a keyboard ever again.
You did that by thinking?
It can't read my mind. Not yet, but the wafer tracks activity in the neural pathway and micro movements in the retina to predict what I'm thinking.
But that is reading your mind.
Let's see where everyone is. There's Aunt Rosie. She's at home. Lincoln's in school. Lee's not in school. Should be. Where is he? In the park. Don't tell Rosie. Gran's at home in the kitchen. What a surprise. Let's find Ruby. She's in a bar called the Marine Tide, and she's just bought a bottle of House White for £56.
It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
56 quid for the House White.
Oh my God, how did it go, Beth? How are you? Did it work? Are you completely synced up now?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm with Mum and Dad, and I've just realised you're in trouble.
You should be in college.
56 quid?
For God's sake, Bethany!
That is amazing. And a little bit like spying. What if I didn't want you tracking me?
Well, that's a good question. Can you imagine? What if your father was having an affair or something?
Okay.
You're in my contacts. That's permission, according to the law.
But I still don't understand. You can run software like this on a keyboard. So why do you need the operation?
I'm trying to explain it in ways you can understand, but the connection is so much more. While we were talking, at exactly the same time, I wondered about the 80 days of rain, where it came from, why it was, what comes next. And I keyed into satellites just 30 seconds ago, so I can see the course of El Nino, and I can tap into pressure sensors along the Atlantic coast and barometric readings from the ships at sea. If I put all of that together, I'm there. I'm inside it, the tide, the depth of the sea, and the curl of the waves within me. And right now in Charles Street, Pasadena, a 15-year-old girl called Effany Cross has written her first song and put it online, and she's got the sweetest voice. So when I combine all of that, it's joy. In my head, it is absolute joy.
For just
So I see Israel. All right. These are the plans which they have, wanted to come to pass. You know, it is not even a joke, right? And I mean, what more can we really truly say, Israel? You know, that illustration alone gives you where she's telling you that she is a part of a simulation, right? That allows her to do, so much by using the internet, and she can, you know, gain access to everything, where she's almost a part of everything, right? No, that is clearly not what the Most High intended for us to be doing, right? But this is the work of the enemy. And this is what we're talking about when I spoke about demonical infiltration, right? Now, we still don't even finish yet, Israel. We still, I mean, we're barely scraping the surface. Now, we're going to go into um, another video, right? And this more will explain the brain chips could lead to monitoring and controlling individuals. Now, that, as I said earlier, would be the plan of the enemy to have that link into everyone where they can know who and where you are. And they know if, I mean, come on, if she can know all of that, talking about she know, well, I'm just saying, yes, it's an illustration, but still, that's where they want to go because Elon Musk speak of the same thing. No, not as advanced yet, but that's where they're planning to go. You know what I mean? And as you know, Israel, with people with wicked device, it never really ends particularly well, especially when you're dealing with the devil, right? So let's get into it again, Israel, right? I mean, you can't make these things up, right? You can't make these things up.
Powerful computer like your smartphone inside.
Good grammar and spelling are
Well, the enemy's trying, Israel. The enemy's trying. You know what I mean? Trying these bugger ads, Okay, it's all right, you know. Right. So let's do it from top again, Israel.
Could have a powerful computer like your smartphone inside your head. Scientists at Northwestern University say they are making a chip that would connect to your brain to the internet. Yesterday, I spoke with John Brahaney from the National Catholic Bioethics Center about the dangers of such a device.
Everybody is going to be worried not only about safety but reliability over time. And then I think the next thing that we would worry about is this going to make some people or some groups more powerful in all they can know and what they can do? It seems to me that's a danger, but also I think we ought to be paying attention to the dangers of ourselves being monitored, maybe even controlled. And finally, just as with our smartphones, we may come to rely on this technology and fail to develop our own abilities, our own character.
Is there any data suggesting that that is actually the case?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't think people have done enough research with the chips yet. I think there's a lot of research that is ongoing right now with smartphones, and I think it's an interesting, almost parallel example. It's not in our head, but they are in our hands. And obviously, they change people's behaviors. They change how they interact, you know, and it's not all good.
John.
You know what I mean, Israel? No, think about it. Let's stop it for a second right there, right? We have a smartphone in our hands. He's completely right. These are the things that they use to monitor and see all the activities of what we do, what we use. And these information are being gathered by, you know, these mega, you know, associations. You know what I mean? I don't need to call them out. You know them, right? Because you're, you know, without, you know, you using a certain particular email or link, you can't get connected to nothing. You know what I mean? You have to have an email. All right. So let's continue.
A conversation so fascinating, even Pope Francis has weighed in on it. He talked about the dangers of technology in a recent meeting at the.
No, the Pope is telling you this because he's trying to look clean, right? But really and truly, you know, all of them are part of it. You know what I mean? The Pope, oh man, don't be tricked, man. That's a deceiving tongue right there. But I'm going to get into that in the scriptures as well.
The Vatican. Let's listen first to what he had to say.
Invece di consegnare alla vita umana gli strumenti che ne migliorano la cura, si corre il rischio di consegnare la vita alla logica di dispositivi che ne decidono il valore.
Giving life over to devices. Could this kind of chip technology actually really create inequality?
No, Israel, think about it. She just said it. Giving your life over to devices. No, this is just, I'm just kind of segue into showing you that leading from, you know, being vaccinated, that's one step. That's what they're bringing it to. And then from vaccination, then into what? You know, putting stuff in your brain. And that's where it's going so rapidly. I mean, it makes your head spin. I still have to show you 2 more videos. I mean, it's real, Israel. Now continue. Let's get into it some more.
Quality in society. You touched upon that just a little bit a while ago.
Sure, I think it could if we let it. Many of the good things in our lives can be a factor in inequality. Think of education. None of us can get ahead with education, and yet I think we pretty much all saw in the news a massive cheating scandal. People who are unequal, they have a lot more money and connections and influence.
There's more privilege there.
Buying their child's way into good colleges. So this is, it is a tool. It's a technology, and if we let it, sure, it could increase inequality.
Now, in all fairness, there are some implantable chips that are available today, including a device that's placed in the brain to help reduce the symptoms of Parkinson's disease, which we know is debilitating. Is there a difference between that technology and the computer chip we've been discussing?
Sure, and right now, my understanding is there are actually scores of thousands of people with chips, but they are all therapeutic. They are all designed and ordered to help them overcome a disease or an injury, and that's a very good thing because people suffer from some terrible, debilitating injuries. This seems to be different. It's not to correct an injury or an illness. And it does seem designed to bring more information into the brain and more communication with the outside world. So that's...
There you go, Israel. To bring more information into you and to give you a link to the outside world. What outside world is that? You know what I mean? I tell you, you know, we really have to read these things between the lines. And, you know, really and truly, they're not hiding anymore. It's right in front of your face. They're telling you everything. You know, it's just who choose to listen, and that's what it really comes down to, Israel, right?
Seems to be the difference.
That's an important distinction. I want to bring this full circle in the 30 seconds we have left. What role should Catholics be playing in the medical field as these types of technologies develop?
You know, I think one of the most valuable things we can bring is our holistic and profound understanding of the human person and human dignity. With any technology, it can be easy to reduce the person to what the technology can do, but we are not just matter or our bodies or even our brains. And I think sometimes scientists will say, well, we are our brains. We're more than that. So Catholics should bring that understanding. I think they should.
Well, you see, that's the enemies talking again. You know, the Catholic is not going to tell you that you're more than just a brain, just like what the scientist is saying. No, he's going to tell you what he wants to tell you to let you feel good. But the ultimate plan is really and truly is to infiltrate the Most High's people. No, Israel, let's get into it now, right? Now, this is deep, right? Now, I'm going to go into even showing you, structures of the brain, right? And things which are of, what they, what they, what we're, and, if you can see this chart right here, if you can see clearly, hoping you are, this is what, it states right here where it's the, Pertorion, right? I hope I'm pronouncing it right. These medical words are very, complex, right? And the Pertorion is an area which is like the softest part of the skull, right? And the area where you have the middle, let me see if we can go into it a little bit. Right, the middle mangular artery. So this area right here, where you can see the brain and the area where it's a hole in it, that is where normally any incision of the brain takes place to use as a way of as what they say, using electrons to stimulate your neurosenses, right? And it gives off a certain signal or whatever it may be to to give you a certain reaction or let you do things normally you couldn't do per se on your own, right? Now let's quickly get back into this now, Israel. Let's get into this one right here. So we're going right into where Elon Musk himself is giving you, the information in terms of the putting in the device really into your head, and it's the same area. If you look here, just as what I showed you earlier, is right in the middle area of the mandibular artery, right? All right. Now, let's really get into this one right here. Because I'm going to kind of take it back a little and let him kind of give you a little illustration of what he has planned. And I'm telling you, Israel, you truly can't make these things up, right? So let's get into it again, Israel. I mean, we need to see this, we need to break it down, and we need to know what the enemy has planned for the children of the Most High, right? All right, so here we go now, Israel. As I can see, the enemy is definitely trying to every minute there's an ad coming in, you know what I mean? But it's all right. It's okay. All right, Israel. So let's do it now again. All right. I'm going to take it back a little bit because every minute there's a commercial try to come in to really cause disruption. But I know it's the enemy, so let's do it.
So I'm going to emphasize this at the beginning and then again at the end. We're not trying to raise money or do anything else.
So this is Elon Musk, right? So he's going to explain to you what the plans and what he's doing, and he's going to give you a demo of, the implant into the human's, skull. Well, let's go.
The main purpose of this is to convince great people to come work at Neuralink and help us bring the product to fruition, make it affordable and reliable, and such that anyone who wants one can have one. And so I want to emphasize the purpose of Neuralink. Like, what's our goal? Our goal is to solve important spine and brain problems with a seamlessly implanted device. So you want to have a device that you can basically put in your head and feel and look totally normal, but it solves some important problem in your brain or spine. And the reality is that almost everyone over time will develop brain and spine problems. These range from minor to very severe, but if you live long enough, everyone's going to basically have some kind of neurological disorder. And these range from memory loss to brain damage. But the thing that's important to appreciate is that an implantable device can actually solve these problems. I think a lot of people don't quite realize that. But all of these, all of your senses, your sight, hearing, feeling, pain, these are all electrical signals sent by neurons to your brain. And if you can correct these signals, you can solve everything from memory loss, hearing loss, blindness, paralysis, depression, insomnia, extreme pain, seizures, anxiety, addiction, strokes, brain damage. These can all be solved with an implantable neural link. This is an extremely fundamental thing, and I think a lot of people don't quite understand that. The neurons are like wiring, and you kind of need an electronic thing to solve an electronic problem. So current medical research, we'll just go through what is the state of the art in medical research, and then what's the state of the art in what consumers or people in general can get. So the current medical research has shown that you can read neurons in a human's brain. So there's something called the Utah array, which has about 100 channels per array. But it's like, kind of like it's a bed of rigid spikes that's literally inserted with an air hammer. So, that's slightly discomforting, I think. And there's wires and a box on your head. And so it's some infection risk. And obviously it will look pretty weird if you walk around with boxes on your head. And in order to use it, you have to have an expert medical professional there. And it's only been done in a few dozen people. So, but it is served as an important proof of concept that this can be done. So we did want to point this out and show that this actually does work. It's just not something that the average person could use effectively. And then in terms of what is currently available, there is something called deep brain stimulation, where they put electrodes, a small number of electrodes in your brain, and will actually zap your brain with an electric current. And it's valuable for its uses, but it can't read or write high bandwidth information. I would say this is sort of a bit like sort of kicking the TV, which does work, but not always, and it has limitations. Nonetheless, this has greatly helped over 150,000 people, and it's actually, just despite being somewhat of a brute force approach, it has been very effective for a lot of people, and this is what's currently available. So we want to radically improve this by multiple orders of magnitude, improve it by a factor of 100, then 1,000, then 10,000. So going into the Neuralink architecture, what we've done over the past year is dramatically simplify the device. So we about a year ago, we had a device which had multiple parts, including a piece that had to sort of sit behind your ear, and it was complex, and you wouldn't still look totally normal. You'd have a thing behind your ear. So we've simplified this to simply something that is about the size of a large coin, and it goes in your skull, replaces a piece of skull, and the wires.
Now, Israel, as you can see right here, it goes into the skulls and it is now not going to be noticeable, right? So let's continue.
Then connect within a few centimeters or about an inch away from the device. And this is sort of what it looks like. So
take a good look, Israel. This is what it looks like, you know? This is what the devil's instrument looks like. Continue.
Yeah. This is our little device. It does, that thing at the bottom is just to hold the threads in place because they're just like little fine wires.
Okay, now Israel. Now, as you see, this is what the device looks like, right? So, as I said, Israel, this is nothing more than an invasive and an infiltration of the Most High's people, right? And it's slowly coming to fruition. This is what the enemy has planned, right? And I'm telling you, when this comes, you don't have a choice, not more than, if after a period of time, if you don't get it, you can't buy anything, you can't gain anything. And this is what they want to bring to light. So as you can say, they bring it to where they can implant it in your brain, right? To use those, as what he says, those electrons, to stimulate and to do things within the mind, right? You think that, they're making it look like, all right, yeah, it can help this problem and it can help that problem. And mind you, to a certain extent, I'm not saying that probably if it's a health benefit to a level, in certain instance, it could be in a good way, but that's not the plan. That's not to help anybody. It's really to just to bring forth some crazy madness. You know what I mean? No, let's quickly go into here. So I'm going to read something in terms of dealing with let me kind of blow this up a little. Yeah. All right. Go to, yeah, well, that should be good. All right. So now we're going to the cranium, right? I'm going to go through this real quick. Right. The cranium is also known as the what? So may I say neurocranium, right? The neurocranium. So hence the word neuralink, right? The brain, all right? Cranium. So it forms by a superior aspect of the skull. It encloses the prospect of the brain and meanings and collaborates the vascular. Automatically, cranium can be subdivided into a roof and a base, right? So here is right here Israel, right? So these people, are into some serious business right here. They're not playing around with us, Israel. So with no further ado, I'm going to go into one last video, and this is this is the finale to why all of this is really coming to fruition, because it comes right back around to, as I said, the infiltration of demonic entity, right? So this basically is another, step forward. All right. So now I wanted to listen to this, I know the enemy are coming with some more commercial, but that's not gonna stop it. So this gives you a more direct insight into the I would say, the aspect of how these people know and knowing who they want to go against, which you might hear me say anything, you might think that they're speculating or it's a conspiracy. But let's see now. No, this is Bill Gates briefing the CIA, right? And he's giving you information dealing with the mind, and controlling people's mind. Comes back to the same thing I was talking about earlier. Now, bam, Check this, Israel, right? Now, this is deep, and we're going to play this straight through.
Okay, my friends, this is extremely disturbing, but it's also extremely enlightening because it solves one of the worst dilemmas that I have had is trying to understand the human mind. And this sheds a lot of light on it in a whole batch of ways. Where do you hear this, though? This is extremely disturbing. This is Bill Gates supposedly briefing the CIA on how to change people's minds.
Excuse me, on the left over here, we have individuals who are religious fundamentalists, religious fanatics, and this is the expression, RT-PCR, real-time PCR expression of the VMAT2 gene. Over here, we have individuals. So let me complete. So over here, we have individuals who are not particularly fundamentalist, not particularly religious, and you can see there's a much reduced expression of this particular gene, the VMAT2 gene. Another evidence that supports our hypothesis for the development of this approach. What you see
here is by spreading this virus, we're going to eliminate individuals from going on a bomb.
All right, before this guy here is sounds like a good guy. He's saying, you know, he's sort of grilling him. Now, what Gates is saying is there's a region in your brain that dictates how you are about religion, whether you find it disgusting, which they do, or whether you find it good, which this does. Now, listen to this. Now, and this really solves a dilemma for me because I have found that there are a group of people which we consider our leaders or the ones that are teachers and so forth that are complete deniers of reality, and they, I believe, have this. And then there's other ones that are, you know, that understand and are searching for everything, including God, have this. And then there's other ones that have this, that are still searching for God, but they can completely deny reality. That's the issue here, is there's deniers of reality, and then there's people that search for reality, in my mind. Now, wait till you hear the way he treats it.
Going into a market, blowing up the market.
So our hypothesis is that these are fanatical people, that they have overexpression of the VMAT2 gene, and that by vaccinating them.
No, Israel, the man saying, listen, clearly, fanatics. That's the word he used. These people are fanatics. People who are, looking to have a relation with the Most High. They call them fanatics. All right, let's continue. Regardless if some people are not, under the right banner, but still yet they call them fanatics. All right, watch this.
Them against this, will eliminate this behavior. So we have some very, very...
Now, wait till you hear how they plan to do the vaccinations. Absolutely horrifying.
Remarkable data in this next slide.
Especially with what we got today.
Two brain scans. These are fMRIs. These are two different individuals with different levels of expression of VMAT2. On top is an individual who's a religious fanatic, an individual, and we've repeated this numerous times, that
religious fanatic. I love the way
high levels of VMAT2. Now, this individual down here who had low levels of the VMAT2 gene, this individual would self-describe as not particularly religious. In each case, these individuals were read a religious text. This individual.
No, wait, did you hear what he just said?
They
were read a religious text. This person took it to think about it. This person, this is a region of disgust. I'm serious. Wait till you hear this.
Little frontal gyrus shown here, and that's a part of the brain that's associated with theory of mind. It's a part of the brain that has to do with intents and beliefs and desires. In marked contrast, here's an individual who would not particularly self-describe as religious, and when they're read a religious text, what you see is that this part of the brain called the anterior insula lights up. This is a part of the brain that's associated with disgust or displeasure on hearing something.
Can you imagine? This is what I've been looking for. This is why these are deniers of reality. Disgust when hearing something written about religious. Now, wait till you see how they want to handle this.
Take a CT scan with me when I'm evaluating people to determine whether to put a bullet in their head?
The data that I'm presenting here supports the concept that we're proposing, and I think that we would not propose to do CT scans or fMRIs on individuals out in the hinterlands of Afghanistan. The virus would immunize against this VMAT2 gene, and that would have the effect that you see here, which is it's essentially to turn
the virus. Now wait, they're using viruses to spread this vaccination to destroy your love of God.
Fanatic into a normal person, and we think that will have major effects in the Middle East.
Turn a fanatic into a normal person.
Well, so the present plan and the tests that we've done so far have used respiratory viruses such as flu or rhinoviruses.
They're using flu viruses, respiratory viruses to infect you, to make you hate God.
And we believe that that's a satisfactory way to get the exposure of the largest part of the population. Most of us, of course, have been exposed to both of those viruses. And we're quite confident that this will be a very successful approach.
That's how they intend to spread this disgust for God. I don't know. I just don't even. I don't have words. I don't have words. All right. As disgusting as this is, it's answered a question for me that literally every day I wake up thinking to myself, how can these people dismiss reality? How can they do this day after day after day after day? And they are the academics, primarily. And they are disgusted with reality. They have the weak minds that can dismiss reality regardless of how much you push it in your face. This mind is interested in listening. That's a listening mind. This is a disgusted, dismissive mind. And that is our academics. They are been put in charge, and now they are disgusted with anything, certainly, that has to do with God and religious. I mean, I'm sure he did a lot of research on and found that virtually everybody in his realm is disgusted with religion, and all the religious fanatics are like this. Very, very distressing. Okay, my friends, as crazy as this sounds, and this is absolute fact, I had already done a couple of clips called Possessed, which this is called now. And because I had come to the conclusion that they have to be possessed to come into this way of thinking, that they can dismiss reality, just dismiss it, absolutely dismiss it.
Now, Israel, I mean, what can I say, right? Now, he just said, just to listen to the ending of this video right here, that he just said that he came to the conclusion that these people are demon possessed. No, Israel, I don't need to say anymore. I really and truly don't need to say anymore, because this is what I will segue into, right? So all of these things that these people are doing, they are demon possessed. And this coming up, after my last previous two videos, right? And it shows you, right, that even the government is compromised, right? And if you see, I don't even have to say nothing, about this last video right here. It tells itself. As I said, they're not hiding. It's just a time that you're going to take to look and see the real reality. But it's not reality, really. It's truth. because what they're running from or what they don't want is truth. And the truth is Christ. Because he is, right, the light and the doorway to the Most High. So they are, you notice as what they showed you in the monitors, in terms of dealing with the brain, and I'm going to show you a quick illustration of that as well, right here, right, where it has to deal with the brain. It tells you the gyrus, right, is a part of the mind that deals with feelings and emotions and stuff like that, right? And they, did their research, they run their tests, and they realize that reading the Bible to somebody who don't really, consider or having, the Most High, in their thoughts, let's say an atheist or somebody which is not, just dismiss the whole thing about God. When you read that to them, in their mind, it comes up as a disgust. They don't like it. It tears them. That's somebody that has the spirit of a demon entity in them, but they don't know it. They're just thinking that is just something that they don't like, but that's a demonical infiltration, right? Just as what he just told you. I don't even have to say it. There is somebody right there for yourself to explain that to you, right? And they're using those methods of spreading an inoculation so they can submit. Because when they do that, that's what he's saying, not me saying it, it's right here in the video. It shows you that when you do these things, what happens? By spreading a certain thing, then giving them inoculation, it will subdue their minds. This is what he's telling them, this is what he's briefing these people. He's telling them that when he gives them, when you get this, it will, put you in a submissive mode, basically. And not only that, opens you up to demonical infiltration. That's what it really does. It opens you up, which I was saying, but it's just, confirmation that it opens you up to demonical infiltration. So now you won't fight anything. You work with it because what? It's not associated with dealing with the Most High, because as he told you, right, by just reading the Bible to somebody, which they tested, a certain part of the mind lighted up and it shows disgust. While you read to another, which it didn't, it soaked it in, because that is something that has a spirit of the Most High, which embraces the word, because the word is life, right, Israel? So now let's get into it, because I don't want to make this video too long, but I had to really bring this out to you, Israel, to get in deep into this thing, because it's not a plain thing right now. I mean, who have ears to hear, let them hear. Who have eyes to see, let them see. Now, I'm at, Proverbs 10. And I mean, the Most High gave me this scripture, this morning. So I'm going to, read a few verses from this. And it just, nails that nail on the head to solidify why these people are the way that they are. Now watch this, Israel. And this is Proverbs 10, we start 2. The treasures of the wicked profit nothing, but the righteous deliver it from death. Israel, let's continue. The Most High will not suffer the soul of the righteous to famish, but he casteth away the substance of the wicked. Israel, you hear what I'm saying right here? Now continue. He becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand, but the hand of the diligent maketh rich. Okay, so Israel, we're getting in. Now watch this now, Israel. I'm going to jump down to 6, right? And it states, blessings are upon the head of the just, but violence covereth the mouth of the wicked. Now, just as what you heard Mr. Gates was saying a while ago, that's the mouth of the wicked. Violence. He's thinking about, doing things which of a wicked nature. Now, catch this again now, Israel. The wise in heart will receive the commandment, but a parting fool shall fall. So it shows you a while ago, same thing that they were saying, right? The Most High saw, I'm telling you, I love the Most High, man, because he is, 1 million steps ahead of these people. They don't even know it. They're just fighting a losing battle. But I guess it has to be fulfilled, like it's prophecy. So they got it. The devil will do what he do, and the Most High will do what he does, right? And that he does right, he does righteously, and he do it because of love. They're doing it because of hate. Watch this now. Let's read it again. The wise in heart will receive commandments, but a parting fool shall fall. Now, same as what you were saying when they read the scriptures to them, one that didn't want to hear it, it lighted up. So it shows you the wise in heart will receive it. So the one that did receive it, it didn't light up. They soaked it in, right? They listened. So this is what it's talking about. The wise in heart will receive commandments. So Israel, I know that you're wise. I know that you have the Most High Spirit in you. So let's awaken it more by getting into the scriptures. So now it comes to what I'm trying to show you. If you read these scriptures regularly, the Most High will dwell in you more and more and more. So he tells you, meditate on these words day and night. He's not lying, because by having this inside, there is no negative energy can dwell therein. Watch this again now, Israel. He that walketh uprightly walketh surely, but he that perverteth his way shall be known. So he that is doing all devices, we shall know, right? Now watch this. I'm going to jump down to 11. The mouth of a righteous man is a well of life, but the violence covereth the mouth of the wicked. Right, Israel? The mouth of the wicked. We do cover it violence, Israel. Right? Now watch this now, as I said earlier, because you don't have that word within you if you're not within the Most High, what you have, hatred. So watch this now. Hatred stir up strife, but love covereth all sins. Israel, did you hear that? Oh man, I don't think you even hear. Let's continue. In the lips of him that had understanding, wisdom is found, but a rod is for the back of him that is void of understanding. It comes back to what I'm saying. You don't have that knowledge of the Most High, you're going to get a beating. No, Israel, we're going in, right? No, check this, right? The wise man layeth up knowledge, but the mouth of the foolish is near destruction. That's what they are. They are, people of foolish ways, and they're only going to end up into destruction, right? So let's get into it again, Israel. Look, 16. The labor of the righteous tendeth to life, the fruits of the wicked to sin. That's all they're doing. They're going into sin. They're going into, and the wages of sin is death. But who have ears to hear, let him hear. Now watch this now, Israel. He is in the way of life that keepeth instruction, but he that refuseth reproof erreth. Right? Watch this again now, Israel. 18. He that hideth hatred with what? Lying lips. Now it comes back to what I was talking about with the Catholic Church, and the Pope coming out and saying, no, man, you're not supposed to be doing this because, but all of that are lying lips. But what they do hide is hatred. What? They hide hatred with lying lips. And watch this now. And he that uttereth a slander is a fool. I didn't say it. The scriptures did, right? Watch this again now, 19. In the multitude of words, there wanted not sin, but he that reframeth himself is wise. I'm going to jump down again, Israel, because you know these are bombs in these scriptures right here. Oh man, let's go to 20 now, right? The tongue of the just is as the choice of silver. The heart of the wicked is little wrath. Israel. So the point I'm really trying to knock home here is that the wicked will always go into sin. They will always do things which are of wicked nature. But people which of a righteous and an upright mind is the fruits of life. Now watch this now, Israel. It let's go down to 24. Let's jump to 24, right? So it says here, the fear of the wicked, it shall come upon him, but the desires of the righteous shall be granted. So all these things they're pushing on us is their own fears, but it's not them only, as I said, it's a demonical infiltration of their own soul that is pushing them. Because they're pawns, they're being used, they're slaves, basically. You know what I mean? They're being used to bring out a device, and it's not going to benefit them in any form or way. Watch this. Number 27, the fear of the Most High prolongeth days. I want to stick right there, Israel. Let's even highlight that, right? The fear of the Most High prolongeth days. But the years of the wicked shall be shortened. Israel, I could go more and more into the scriptures because it's just going to be headbangers after headbangers, more headbangers. You know what I mean? Because there it is. Everything that the Most High is telling you is right here. We don't need to go nowhere else. The Holy Spirit is there to guide us in terms of making the right choices. Obviously, these people don't have that. They're on a different level of foolishness because that's the Most High said it. You know what I mean? Not me. You know what I mean? They're doing foolish works, you know what I mean, which won't help them in the last days. Because let me even read right here is I'm going to read 29. This is going to be the last one I'm going to read here. So, well, hold up. All right, here it is. 29. The way of the Most High is strengthened to the upright, but the destruction shall be to the workers of iniquity. I couldn't say it better myself, and it's a perfect way to end the lesson, Israel, right? So with all this information I'm showing you, Israel, is just letting you know that this is real. This is not a joke, right? And everything that is happening now is to, move forward to what is being coming to pass by these I'd say foolish people, because they're foolish. Their ways are foolish because it profiteth nothing in the end. They're only bringing, wicked device to pass. And in the end, it's only going to come right back on their own destruction. It says it right here, right? It says it, but the destruction shall be to the workers of iniquity. It's a simple thing. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to add up this maths right here. It's quick maths. You know what I mean? So Israel, it's been a really good one again. All praises unto the Most High. We give him thanks unto thee, Father, for thou hast been merciful and kind to thy people. And double honors unto our Savior Christ, who laid down his life for his people, right? And honors unto the Holy Spirit, which is the wisdom that lives within the seed of Jacob, right? So we serve the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? Which we were given the promise, and through the promise of our fathers, right? As long as we stick to the commandments and listen, that's what the scripture just told us. Listen to the commandments and do them, and not only just do them, but also be doers of the word, which is, dealing with love, because love is the root of everything, really. That's why the Father even created us. If it wasn't for that, he wouldn't have, right? So let's get back to that, right? And just push away hatred. Hatred has nothing good for us. Hatred is just, a bag of weight of foolishness. That's what it is. It's like a big heavy stone on somebody tied, around your neck to weigh you down. You know what I mean? That's what it is, right? So Israel, with that said, I'm going to say, have a blessed day, and I pray that the Most High will, make your life enriched in His glory and His presence. Right. So until I see you again, all praises unto the Most High. Shalom.